Hey everybody, welcome back to H4G Gaiden. I'm Tony.
This is Richie.
And Richie was talking to me earlier today regarding broken leveling systems. So we decided it was time to talk about leveling up.
Indeed, and it's almost redundant, because I feel like pretty much all leveling up systems in the past few years have been, at least on some level, broken.
Sure.
But I was playing Nier Automata recently, and with it being so heavy on action, I mean, it is an RPG, story's a big part of the game, but it's an action game, let's be frank. And I really feel like action games, maybe it's because I kind of expect myself to have to put my skill into the game more, but I feel like action games really expose how unbalanced things get when you get out of the sweet spot as far as your level is relative to the enemies.
So give me an example of what happens when you're out of that sweet spot.
Well, in Nier, it's particularly problematic because I can't remember exactly what the cutoff point is, but at some point with enough of a gap between your level and the enemy, it is impossible for you to damage them. Which I think is just bogus.
Okay, yeah, exactly. So you have an action game, and of course, obviously, since it has RPG elements, the level is, of course, going to be important, right? But because you have an action game, you would think that your skill and strategy could make up some of that difference, but what you're telling me is that it's impossible.
With a certain distance between your level and the enemy's level, yes, it can be absolutely flat-out impossible to damage certain enemies.
You simply can't get a decent shot off. It just simply doesn't penetrate their armor, whatever.
Oh my.
Yeah, or
that's a trigger word right there. Penetration.
Well, with Nier Automata and that sweet booty.
Oh yes, with her exploding skirt.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually one of the reasons why I want to play the game. I've heard it's fantastic, but I hear it is bootylicious, as they say.
It can be from certain angles, yes.
So I haven't played Nier, but that does remind me of Xenoblade Chronicles, right? When I was playing Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii, I was having a hard time understanding why I couldn't damage certain enemies, and I knew that they were a higher level than me. Basically, if there's a certain amount of a gap, and I can't remember the number, again, it's been a while since I played it, I think it was around 6 levels or so. I could be wrong, correct me in the comments, but basically they become invincible, right? And vice versa happens, where if you are 6 levels above, or whatever, the enemy, you are essentially untouchable. So I would have preferred it was maybe a little bit more, instead of a hard cutoff, like a soft cutoff, you know, where maybe around 6 it gets a little hazier, it's harder to hurt them, but no, it is a hard cutoff. So it kind of made the end game weird for me because I was about to beat the game, went back, backtracked, did a lot of the side quests, and one of the side quests that was very in-depth ended with me fighting a giant spider. And it was way above me in levels. I had to grind and grind and grind and grind and grind. I finally beat this thing after like 30, 40 tries and went back to beat the last boss, and I was so far above the last boss that I was invincible. And it wasn't because of my level, right? It was because of the cutoff with the levels. He couldn't hurt me.
Right, and I feel like that's just as big a problem as the other side of the equation. And it came up in Nier too, because especially as games get more open-worldy, and Nier certainly marketed itself as more of an open-world alternative to some of its prequels.
Sure.
It's still not an open-world game, it's really not. Don't go in expecting that, you'll be sad. But
I want to play the game for one reason.
Booty!
Bootylicious! Anyway, sorry, go on.
And it really does create more of a problem in open world sorts of games because, for me, I try so hard to play games differently each time I go through it and maybe see different parts of the game.
Sure.
But it always ends up that I just try and do everything every time I play the game.
So
I can't help myself. But it means that at the end of pretty much every game, I'm way too powerful for the final boss. The only reason I wasn't totally overpowered when I played Zelda Breath of the Wild was because I went into Hyrule Castle to get the Hylian shield, and then I was just like, well, you know what? I'm already here. I survived. I might as well see if I can take on Ganon.
Yeah. I have the opposite issue with Breath of the Wild. I beat the game by accident. I was roaming around looking for the last memory and looking for the Hylian shield, which I still have never found, even though I've explored every place in that damn castle. But point is that I stumbled...
Apparently not the place with the Hylian shield.
Exactly, yeah. So I stumbled across Ganon and just beat him. So I'm like, whoops. But, you know, you mentioned Legend of Zelda, and obviously that's less of an RPG, so some of the comparison here doesn't quite work. But, you know, we were talking earlier about the quote leveling system in Zelda being a little bit more discreet, right? So instead of having this hard line of, all right, you know, after this point in time, you're either invincible or the enemies are invincible, you know, you get another item or you get an extra heart. So it's kind of like this slower burn that allows your strategy and skill to overcome the differences. So for example, you see all these people doing runs of whatever Zelda game with only the original 3 hearts, right? And it's possible because, you know, the quote leveling system, I know there's not really a leveling system, is more discreet.
Right, and I would say another good example of that is something like BioShock, where you get like some unlockable abilities, but there's not as much of a connection between your stats and just your pure damage output as you go through the game. And I think that works better for most action-y games. But to sort of take the next step, because it is a problem for more traditional RPGs too. So what I've seen happening a lot, especially in like the JRPGs these days, is that your experience doesn't get tallied immediately. Like Final Fantasy 15, kind of more of an action game than an RPG too, but in Final Fantasy 15, you only add your experience and level up when you rest.
Okay.
So you gather all of this experience throughout the game, but you rest and then tally it up. So if you choose not to ever rest, you can stay at a certain level for basically forever.
Effectively letting you adjust your difficulty.
Right. The problem is that they don't actually let you control how much you level up when you do level up.
Oh, okay.
So I just played it as it came out for Windows, and basically I played the game for like 5 hours at level 1, 5 hours at level 20,
oh my god,
5 hours at level 60,
oh, okay,
5 hours at level 80.
Wow.
And it's just only a little fraction of my game is spent at the actual sweet spot where I'm most comfortable with the game.
So what do you think a good solution to this is? Do you think that's a viable solution or no?
I think that's on the way.
Okay.
But I think I would just let the players pick their level. If you want to make them grind the experience because you feel like it's more rewarding and people are going to abuse the system otherwise, fine. But then just let me dial it down as far as I want and then bring it back up when I need it.
Okay. So what you're saying is that it's not like I can just pick my level, oh, I want to be level 99. It's, I get the level that I earn, but if I want to be less for more of a challenge, I can make adjustments.
Exactly.
Okay.
Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is another one that does kind of close to what Final Fantasy 15 did, except that you get to pick your level when you rest. You can choose how many levels to go up, so you don't just have to go level 1 to 20. If you have that much experience, you can do 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
But there's still no way to back down if you've gone too far.
Okay. So ideally, you would like a system that allows you to do something like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but periodically bump up the difficulty if you'd like.
Right. I want you to give me the option to build an atomic bomb and then sign disarmament treaties with other people. That's what I'm really looking for.
That's a way to describe it. So let us know in the comments below which game has your ideal leveling system, or which game you think has a leveling system that is somewhat broken.
Or really broken. What's the absolute worst level experience you've ever had?
Let us know in the comments below. Aside from that, feel free to subscribe, hit that notification button so you know when our next videos are coming out, and we'll see you guys next time.
Level us up by hitting those buttons.
Ah, I like that.
Yeah.
We should say that more often. Thank you again for watching. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like and a share, and we will see you guys next time.